Okay, everyone, welcome. It's Brian Sachs. I apologize to you. We try to be very, very punctual, but apparently we are a minute late here. So we're going to go ahead and get started with this week's hangout. Before we do, I want to show you all something that I thought, if you didn't see, would be worth seeing. And so this is the Local Client Formula Monday Morning Marketing Minute. And you really ought to take some time and go to localclientformula.com and read this. Every Monday morning, we post a tip to get you going correctly for the week. And this is one that I think really is where many of you are stuck. And actually, I assume my mic's working. What should I do to check that? Can everybody hear me okay? If you could just type in the box yes or no. Just want to make sure my sound is okay. Okay, welcome Keith. And welcome Brian. Who else is here? I see a whole bunch of people in the GoToWebinar box, but I don't see you all answering. So the good news is Keith and Brian can hear me, so I assume everybody else can hear me as well. But you really ought to go to the localclientformula.com. You'll see there the Monday morning marketing minutes. And this is an area that Robert and I see so many of the people we work with being stuck in. I'm not going to, hey, Rico, and welcome. Thank you for telling me you're able to hear. So take some time after this webinar and go to Local Client Formula. If you're watching the replay, you're already in the Local Client Formula area. And, here are the replays of our weekly Hangouts. Last week's Hangout was an absolute, I don't even know the words for it, but, I feel very confident if we charged you thousands of dollars, it would have been well worth it because it was all about a 27-word sentence that literally will allow you to get whatever you want whenever you want it and still have people feel good about it. See, what we don't realize is that everything we do is manipulation. If you talk to your significant other or your spouse and you want to decide what movie to go to, that's manipulation. That's salesmanship. Right, Robert?
Absolutely.
Robert's standing behind me, folks. So I'm going to scoot over so make sure you can hear Robert as well. So, I'm going to get out of this and we're going to go right back to the presentation. And there's a lot of things that we want to cover with you this week on the Hangout. And of course, as always, we want to answer your question. So what we want to share with you this week are some quick ways to immediately increase your business profits and your bottom line. And just a reminder to everyone, these weekly Hangouts are really for your benefit. This is a pitch-free zone. Nothing's ever sold. You can, leave your wallet at home. We're here to help. So, Robert, you want to share any insights before we get started?
I'm good for now. I think I'll share as we go.
Okay. So, let's talk about who are the easiest customers for you to sell to. Well, we know that in order for you to for someone to buy, they must know you, like you, and trust you. And so customers that are referred to you by your existing clients is a great group of people to consider stimulating referrals from. And of course, those people who are referred to you from those existing customers tend to be very, very easy customers to sell to as well. And so you might be thinking, well, when, how should you even ask for referrals? One thing that we do every month is a written newsletter. We're often asked, what's better, a written newsletter or a email newsletter? So why don't you type in the box, what do you think's better, a written newsletter or an email newsletter? And with your responses, you can type it right in the question box. Brian Saviano says any, so I think he's saying both. Sidra says both. Hey, Sidra, how are you? Charlie says both. Charlie, how are you? Anybody else? How about you, Keith? What do you think? How about you, Rico? I see a bunch of people on this webinar, so tell me what you think. Oh, where'd my people go here? Okay, written because of the physical address. Charlie says both. So the right answer actually is both. And I want to share with you sort of just a lesson on that, because the reality here is that it doesn't matter what you think. And I hate to say it that way, but maybe that's the way you will best remember what I'm telling you. It really doesn't matter what you think. The only thing that matters is what your customers think. And you want to give people as many ways to respond to you as humanly possible. Now, some of your easing newsletters, we talk about effectiveness versus efficiency. It's very efficient to send an email, but it may or may not be very effective, because we all know that emails, what's the stat, Robert, 20%?
Something like that, yeah.
I don't think anybody's hearing you because you're in a different city. Okay. So, yeah, Rico, it wasn't really a trick question. The reality is you want to do both. Okay. And so I think the open rates now are like, great open rates, maybe what, 20%?
That would be a fantastic open rate.
Okay. And we also know that a written newsletter costs money. So it may cost money, but in the end, it may be much more effective. And this is a stat you want to realize and understand. And you also want to be able to share this with your people, because maybe one of the services you could offer is a written email easing or a written newsletter. But for every month that goes by without a contact, you're losing 10% of your influence. That's a fact, by the way. That's a proven fact in marketing. For every month that goes by without you contacting a previous client, you're losing 10% of your influence with that client. And so, you really want to do both. And here's a sample of our newsletter. We call it Mobile Marketing Solutions, and the reality is it really usually has nothing to do with mobile marketing at all. It's just fun stuff in there. I mean, here you can see on the back, on the lighter side, you see here that's got a live stamp on it. So we're wanting to do this in a way to stimulate referrals and as a way to remain in touch with our past clients. So let's go a little bit deeper. Who should you send this to? Well, you should be segmenting your lists, in my opinion, into 4 groups. Current clients, that should be one part of your list. Current prospects, people that you've spoken to but have not taken an action or bought anything. Influencers, which would be associations, publications. For all of you who are members of ultimatemarkettakeover.com, you kind of realize that. And then others. And others would be people people you meet at a event. You might meet a doctor, a chiropractor as an example. They're not a prospect, they're not a client, and they're not necessarily influencers. They're not an association or a paper or a guru to a group. So, we typically would put those in the others category. And I'll share with you also a sneaky little trick. We send a survey. And so after we've done work for a client, we send out a survey. And honestly, please don't take this the wrong way. I really don't care if they're happy with us or not. There's another reason that we send this. It's a much more important reason. And if you look at the bottom here, there's a place for their name and their phone number for them to send referrals to us, and they can fax it back to us. They can mail it back to us. So it's sort of a way to stimulate referrals in a sneaky way. When should you ask for referrals? Well, the honest answer here is kind of all the time. You should be doing it when you first meet someone. Hey, is there anyone else that might be able to benefit from our services? That's a good script, by the way. Anyone else that might be able to benefit from our services? You should do it when they sign a contract with you. You should do it when you deliver the services they've contracted for. And of course, I've just shown you several ways to do it after the sale. So we've talked about, I hope everybody's gotten like a little bit of a nugget. If you could type in the question box, everybody get a little nugget here you can start using? Robert, while they're typing, you want to say anything? Good.
Well, I'll go on the record as saying that I do care if our customers are happy. No, I mean, well, if for no other reason than if they're not happy, they're not going to refer people to us. But no, I mean, we always try to make sure that our customers are thrilled with our service, so that they'll want to come back and do more things with us, and so they'll want to refer others to us. But yes, the main point of that survey is not to, I mean, I think we usually have, at least I usually have a pretty good idea of whether or not a customer is happy with our performance without having to have them fill out a survey. But so the real purpose of that survey is to hopefully have them refer their friends and to kind of reflect on what a good job we did for them.
Okay. So, I'm going to encourage you all to go back to local client formula. If you missed last week's Hangout, you missed a doozy. And actually there were about 4 or 5 lucky people. Sidra was one of them, and Brian Saviano was one of them. There may have been more of you on here who were lucky, who got the preview copies and are beta testers of our new 2 new systems we have coming out. One of them is called Instant Sales Army, and the other is called Clients on Demand. So I thank you for those of you that are on here that had the chance to review that and give us your honest feedback and take on it. So, this time is yours. No one mailed in a question, but if you have a question, if you could type it in the question box, we'll spend the rest of the time we have together here try and help you out, because that's why we're doing this to begin with. So anybody have any questions, you can feel free to type it into the question box right now. And if Robert, are we able to sort of open it up?
We are. Yeah, if somebody wants to speak on their microphone, let us know that in the question box, and we'll take you live.
Okay, so I'll wait another minute, and if there are no questions, we'll assume that everybody here is good to go and doing well and has no questions. Or maybe you guys could type in a tip for us if you like. So far, no questions, so we'll give it another couple seconds here.
While we're waiting, what Brian said, and this is, I feel like this is kind of the core. Once I realized this is when my business really expanded. Back before Brian and I even became partners, is the whole thing about people knowing, liking, and trusting you. If they know, like, and trust you, they will buy from you, and they will tell your friends about you. And if you can get a large number of people to know, like, and trust you, then that's probably half the battle right there. And there's lots of different ways to go about that, and a lot of it is the things that we've been teaching. But yeah, I mean, that's really the key as far as I'm concerned, is getting out there, getting people to know you, showing them why they should trust you, and how good of a job you do with whatever service you provide, and hopefully you're a likable person, and they'll like you as well. So I mean, that's a key right there. We could do a whole webinar on that.
Maybe we will. So we don't see any questions, and so because we don't see any questions, we're going to, I guess, close out this Hangout for the week.
Short Hangout.
It's a short Hangout, but that's cool. I get to save my voice for the big webinar we're doing tonight, so that's good news. And the video we're about to record.
That's right.
And we'll tell you a little bit more about that video we're about to record also, maybe on the next Hangout. But think about this: is every Thursday. We have these at 1 o'clock Eastern. Go into the Facebook groups, and certainly look at these Monday morning marketing minutes. This group tends to be a little bit muted, and we like the interaction, we like the bantying about, and most importantly, we like to help you succeed so that you have some shortcuts that unfortunately Robert and I didn't have. We had to learn it all the hard way by making all the ugly mistakes. And trust me, we've made some ugly mistakes. So I thank you all for being here. I hope the rest of your week is awesome. And again, if you are watching this as a replay, or if you're watching it live, you ought to check out last week's Hangout webinar. Maybe it's a new word.
Hangout webinar.
Hanginar. We're going to call it a Hanginar. So if you missed last week's Hanginar, and if you're new, by the way, you might be wondering what this is all about. You know, we had a webinar. We were doing Hangouts, and for some reason, I just don't see the Hangouts being very beneficial. Maybe somebody can tell me differently. So Rico says, thank you. Enjoyed listening. First chance I've had to attend, but glad to see Brian's around. Nice to be introduced to Robert. Thank you, Rico. And Sidra, thank you. Great content again. So with that, we're going to close out the webinar. I thank you all so much, and we wish you the best of luck.